right. Hi, welcome. Just moving into my brand new office, and so just bear with the mess just for a second. But we're not here to talk about my office. We're here to talk about these sweet new wide lenses from Sony. So we have three brand new wide lenses for Sony APS-C camera bodies. We've got the 10-20 f4 power zoom G lens, we've got the 11mm f1.8 lens, and we've got the 15mm f1.4 G lens. First of all, I can't get over the fact how lightweight all three of these lenses really are. Like, not only are they lightweight, but they're super small and compact, which makes it perfect for traveling or for gimbal work and for just anyone wanting lighter lenses with their Sony APS-C camera bodies. I mean, you can also use these lenses with full frame Sony cameras because of the E-mount system. In fact, this sequence right here was shot with the Sony a7 IV and all three of these lenses. We're gonna go over all of these lenses, talk about all the pros and cons, and I'm actually gonna tell you which one of these lenses is my favorite, as well as my one big problem with all these lenses later in the video. But first, let's talk about the 10-20 f4 power zoom G lens. The 10-20 f4 power zoom G lens is perfect for vlogging. It's the full frame equivalent of a 15-30mm zoom lens, which is pretty close to a 16-35 full frame zoom lens. This is a really awesome wide zoom lens. In fact, an upgrade to the original 10-18 f4 power zoom lens. I had that lens before, I loved it, and this is definitely much better. And even though that this is a lighter version of that lens, like I think it's 22% lighter than the original, you're missing the optical steady shot, which is a huge bummer. I mean, if you have a camera body that has in-body image stabilization, that's not gonna really matter. But if you have a Sony camera body that doesn't have stabilization, then your handheld footage might look a little shaky. The 10-20 has a zoom rocker on the lens if you wanna zoom in, zoom out. There is a multi-function button as well as an autofocus manual focus switch. All the zoom mechanisms are internal, so that means the barrel doesn't come out. There are two linear AF motors, which makes the autofocus performance of this lens really impressive. What's great about this lens, however, if you put it on a camera like the Sony ZV-E10, when you set it to a specific focal length and then you turn off the camera, when you turn the camera back on, the focal length is not gonna reset. You're going to stay at that exact focal length, which is pretty awesome. Now, if you wanna zoom and focus manually with this lens, you totally can. Both the zoom and focus rings are really smooth. And even though this lens is still fly-by-wire, meaning that when you change from one focal length to another and try to do it over and over again, there is a new linear response manual focus that helps you get the focal lengths exactly to where you want it. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's definitely a lot better than most fly-by-wire lenses. Overall, it's a really great vlog lens, only weighing 6.2 ounces. I love how compact it is. The build of this lens is it's a bit plasticky, but almost like a tough plastic. I'm not so sure if I prefer this lens over the original 10-18 wide zoom lens. Like, I love the optical steady shot of that lens, and very rarely did I manually focus or manually zoomed with that lens. So again, if you have a Sony camera body that doesn't have in-body image stabilization, then you probably should opt for that original 10-18 wide zoom lens for vlogs and travels. But if you have one of the newer Sony camera bodies that has in-body image stabilization, then yeah, this lens is a great choice. And lastly, the 10-20 f4 power zoom G lens is gonna cost $749 US. Moving on is the 11mm f1.8 lens. Now, this is not a G lens like the other two lenses. However, the image quality and performance of this lens is really impressive. The 11mm f1.8 has a full frame equivalent of 16.5 millimeters. Just like the 10-20, the 11mm is dust and moisture moisture resistant. It weighs only 6.3 ounces. So if you have a lightweight gimbal like the Zhiyun Crane M3, like this lens would be perfect for gimbal work. And this lens is actually the cheapest of the bunch, which retails at $549 US. The only thing I'm a bit concerned about this lens is the exterior build. I mean, it's definitely more plasticky than the other two G lenses, and so I'm not sure how moisture and dust resistant this lens actually is, but other than that, I think this lens is fantastic. And lastly, moving on to the 15mm f1.4 G lens. This lens is the heaviest of the bunch and has a full frame equivalent of 22.5 millimeters. The exterior of the build is the same as the 10-20 f4 power zoom lens. That's really nice. There is an aperture ring, which is declickable. Huge fan of that. The focus ring is also very smooth if you want to focus manually. You have a multi-function button to register whatever feature you want on the lens. And of course, you have an autofocus manual focus switch. This lens is the direct competitor to the Sigma 16mm contemporary lens, a lens that I absolutely love and recommend. The only thing I wasn't a big fan of the Sigma 16mm was that it was a little bit too heavy for what it was, where the Sony 15mm is half the weight, it's shorter, and the autofocus performance is definitely a lot better, but also costs twice as much as the Sigma 16mm lens. And so if budget is like your main decision factor, then you'll probably want to go with the Sigma 16mm. In fact, if you already have the Sigma 16mm, like I don't know if it's worth letting that lens go for the Sony 15, but if you are looking for a lens of that equivalent, then yeah, definitely consider the Sony 15mm, because I just love all the features, the performance and image quality that this lens produces. And with all that said, I mean, all these lenses are pretty much similar in terms of moisture resistance, suppressed chromatic aberration, and just overall really good image quality. But if I had to pick one lens out of the bunch, it would be the 11mm f1.8. And even though that this isn't a G lens like the other two, just the combination of the wide focal length at 11mm and shooting with an aperture of f1.8 just really impressed me. And the fact that this lens is the cheapest out of the three makes it a lot more appealing to get if you're looking for a wide angle Sony APS-C lens. And with that said, the biggest gripe I have with all these lenses is that they're pretty much overpriced. Like, there are competitor lenses that are half the cost and can give you pretty similar results. And if you have those competitor lenses, then I'm not sure if it's worth upgrading to. However, if you are in the market and if you're looking for super lightweight lenses that are powerful performers, then definitely consider these Sony wide lenses. Although I actually do like the 15mm G lens, like just filming close up at subjects and seeing that bokeh in the background with my Sony ZV-E10, like I thought I was filming with a full frame camera. But the 11mm, oh, I absolutely love. It's fantastic. It's super lightweight. The image quality and the bokeh this lens produces just, chef's kiss. And it's the one lens that I would totally recommend out of the three. Well, there you go. Those are Sony's brand new wide angle lenses for APS-C camera bodies. Let me know which lens would you prefer in the comments below. But I gotta go do stuff. I gotta move stuff around, move things into my office. Like take a look at this. Like, there's just stuff all around, and it's just a big old mess, and it's a really small office space, and so I'm trying to figure out how to set it all up. But other than that, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Let me know what kind of stuff to put in my office. Like, I want a mini fridge. Oh, I so want a mini fridge. Like, just put little drinks in there and like string cheese. Oh, that's the life. Yeah, I'm an adult.